Hey everybody, Chris Krueger here. We're gonna tie a little bass worm today, and it's the end of June and beginning of July, so it's really hot during the day. So it's a great time to tie up some flies that we're fishing in early morning and kind of late evening time. So this is a great little bass worm, and I hope it finds a spot in your box for you and gets you some more fish. Fairly simple as far as the material list is concerned. We're going to use some Life Flex from Hairline. It's a UV Life Flex, comes in a bunch of different colors. We're going to be using, kind of doing a June buggy color to this. So we're going to be using the black, which has got some kind of blue UV iridescence to it, some purpley kind of colors to it, as well as the olive brown. And you'll notice when we spin this together, we get a really cool kind of June buggy look to this bass worm. I've got an Ahrex TP650 26 degree bent streamer hook in here, and this is in a 1/0, and you can really kind of dial this in for whatever size you're fishing. And we're going to start with some Vives 140 power thread in black. You just want a nice stout thread that you can lash down on these body materials. Okay, we're going to take about an 8-inch section of this Life Flex, and this Life Flex is a really kind of thicker chenille that has a whole bunch of rubber legs in it. Okay, so we're going to take about 8 inches or so, 8 to 10 inches, and we're going to cut off a piece of the black, and then we're going to cut off a piece of the olive brown. And you want these both to be the same length, because we're going to twist these together, and it really kind of makes a neat color combination when you put these two things together. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to strip off just a little bit on here to expose that core so I can tie it down cleanly. I'm going to do that on both of the pieces. All right, and we're going to move our thread up to the front, out of the way a little bit here. Kind of mid hook is fine. And we're going to use the Loon dubbing twister, but I'm going to use the alligator clip attachment to it. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this and hook this on both of these pieces here. So I've got it in the alligator clips. And then what I like about this is that there's this little knob here, and then you can grab right here on the alligator clip and twist it in your fingers. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to twist this up, and you'll notice that the two colors really integrate well to each other. You don't get a stripe like you would if you had a couple different colors of dubbing or two other, more solid chenilles. And so I'm going to twist this up until you get a pretty good little bounce to it. This has got some give to it, but I want this twisted up really nicely to where I don't see any individual colors, and it's all kind of integrated into one colored chenille. Like I said, we're kind of going for a June buggy kind of look to this. So those blacks, purples, greens works really well. Okay, especially in that kind of tannic stained water. All right, so we got a nice chenille here. You can notice how thick it is. So we're going to trim this to taper it a little bit, but it helps to make a nice thick worm. I know I have a hard time sometimes to get mop chenille or any kind of other chenille to be the right tapered thickness so that it swims on your ultimate worms and things like that. This is a great alternative for that. Okay, so you can notice that when I let the tension off of this, it wants to scrunch together. Okay, so that's kind of what we're looking for. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it, you can kind of dictate the length of your worm here. Now that we've got things wrapped up, I can take my thread back to kind of where the barb is, and I'm just going to, oh, that looks about good for my worm. And when I let go, you'll notice that it wants to furl on top of each other. And you can kind of help that furl a little bit, but you can notice that I got a nice, bushy, thick worm back here. Okay, and then this is going to become our body. And I'm just going to take my thread, and I'm going to capture that with a couple nice tight wraps. Being that this is fairly thick, you want to make sure that you get a good locking point there so you don't lose any of that twist when you're running this forward. Okay, so I've got this. You notice that there's kind of a hinge point right there. So my first wrap is going to be kind of back onto that tie-in point so that I get a nice continued worm all the way forward. And I'm going to take this and I'm just going to wrap it forward. And once you get to the point where you need to get rid of the clip, you can go ahead and unclip that and just wrap the rest of it by hand. What I'm looking for is to try to get as close to the bent shank as I can. And look at that. Pretty dang perfect. Okay. All right, we're going to tie that off, and then we can go ahead and clip it off. All right, now if you want this to be the same diameter all the way across, you can leave it just like that. What I tend to do is I will trim this to be a little more tapered as we go up the fly here. So that is definitely an option. You can do that now, or I'll show you kind of a trick once we get to the end of the fly. Now I fish this. You can fish it unweighted completely. I like to put some large lead dumbbell eyes just to help it kind of start to sink. This is a fairly resistant material to, it's got a lot of surface area to it, so this kind of helps it stall a little bit and kind of flutter on the way down, but not sit on the top. So we want to break that surface tension. We want it to kind of fall a little more naturally. So adding a little weight to this, I've noticed, is a good trick. Okay. And if you wanted to put more weight on this, you definitely could. I like this large dumbbell eyes is enough to flip it. So we've got that pretty close to the head of the fly, or to the eye of the hook, and we'll put in our bass skirt. Okay, our skirt is going to be a mixture of, these are the fly enhancer legs that are black and purple, and then the other one that we have is our barred crazy legs. These are the olive and green, and they are black barred. So you kind of get that olive with black barring and some green flake mixed with the purple on here. Gives us that nice June bug kind of color to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a full skirt and I'm going to cut it in half, or just tear it in half. And what I'm going to do is do the same thing with my purple. I'm going to take a full skirt and I'm going to tear it in half. Okay. And then what I can do is take this and I'm going to fold it in half and cut this at the halfway point. Okay. And then if I cut off the ends of this, now I've got them all free. And what I can do is I just take them in my hand and I kind of just mix them by hand to where I don't have the layers just sitting on top of each other. Okay? So, now that I've got a nice bunch of some purples and some greens and some olives and all kinds of stuff. This is going to match really well on our June bug color. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm just going to put it about halfway on here, and I'm going to roll it all the way around and give it a couple loose wraps. Okay, and that loose wrap is going to allow me to kind of move some things around a little bit until I'm ready, and then I can tighten down with a couple nice tight wraps on there. And you'll see that it kind of flares out all of those rubber legs. I can pull those back, and then I can go ahead and kind of use my fingers to sweep those back so I can whip finish. And I'll usually do a couple whip finishes on here. Okay. All right. Okay, so a nice jigged bass worm with lots of things going on there. Definitely going to get those bass, the attention of those bass. If we've got any stuff that's still together, you can make sure that you have no rubber legs that are stuck together, any of those. Okay, so when we go to trim this, what I do is I switch this around. I take my little basket here, and then what I can do is you want to make sure that you don't cut too deep to where you cut off the furl. That's always a critical point in this, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to taper this back end. It gives it a little more swim in the water. It lets it move a little bit more freely. Okay, I'm going to take and I'm just going to nip those things off. Okay, and I'm going to trim this down on the back side of this, and you can kind of help use that fluffy, the rubber legs and the bulk of this to taper this worm up to the front. You still get those rubber legs even though they're a little shorter. You still get those rubber legs that are going to move and vibrate and get the bass, those bass tension. Okay, so we get that little bit of taper in there. And then it's nice and big and full and bushy up here. By turning it around in your vise, you'll notice that all your rubber legs really stay out of the way, so that you can trim the bass worm without fear of just cutting your legs off while they're hanging in your way. So, little bass worm for you. Not sure what I'll call it or whatever yet, but it's just a lot of fun to fish and tie, and fairly quick tie when you're not teaching it. But it comes in a bunch of different colors. That Life Flex comes in a bunch of different colors, oranges and olives and a lot of natural colors. So tie some up. I hope it brings some bass to your net or to your hand, and thanks for watching.